Hi. Um, the floodgates are open, and I'm thinking of so many ways and directions I would like to talk about discomfort. But one of them I realized is one of the ways my friend, my coach, Joel Zimelstern, uh, talks about moving into our purpose in business, or even it's our way of being. It doesn't just have to be about business. And it's this, think of it as almost a mathematical equation. Your dissatisfaction plus times your vision plus the first steps that you have to take towards that have to be greater than the resistance to those first steps for us to all move forward. And whenever it comes up in our groups, I'm always looking for a way to try and describe it, and I'm not always right on target with how he wants it to be expressed. So it's a good learning for me. It's like everything. The more you practice, the more you consider, the more you talk about something, closer you get. But I think it's a perfect equation to look at so much of life. It's a great way to understand what discomfort is. So a way you could look at it, again, this is just my way of describing this. Somebody else might think of this a different way, or Joel might very well see some piece of this that might be missing in his perception of it. But a chick, young chick, in an egg is growing. And that egg is built to help it survive, much like an embryo inside a body. That egg is held in the womb. This chick is held in a hard shell. A chicken can lay an egg every 24 hours. If there's a rooster in the yard, then the egg is inseminated. And that egg, if she lays on it, if she broods and sits with it, can become a chick. So this chick starts to form in this home of a shell. It's protective, but it breathes. Air can get through. It's not so solid that nothing can flow in and out. It's in its sac. And it has everything it needs in there to survive until it's ready to join the world. So it's growing and it's growing. And if it's only about half the size of the egg, there will be an internal resistance to changing anything, because this is a safe, caring environment. It needs to be in this environment until it is fully formed in a way that it can survive outside its environment. So there's a resistance to pushing into those edges, because we know they're there for purpose. It knows it's there for survival, for safety. It is there to hold it. It doesn't have to be able to think that through, it just knows. But in that environment, because it's safe, it keeps growing and it keeps growing and it keeps growing. And eventually it's grown so much that that environment that held it safe, that resisted the outer world, becomes incredibly uncomfortable. It becomes so snug that there is no space to move. Everything, if you've ever seen a chick born, like, there is no empty space. They are tucked in there. The feet are wrapped, the wings, the head is tucked in, and it's fully formed. And at some point, that discomfort is too much. The vision, we'll call this part the vision, is that internal understanding this chicken knows that it's meant to be more than just this chicken a shell, that it's eventually meant to be a chicken, to expand, to eat, to grow, to move, so that it become a chicken, a full-fledged, possibly flying, running, whatever, wonderful egg-laying chicken, maybe a rooster. But it can't fulfill that purpose if it stays in the shell, because eventually it's going to suffocate in that shell. There will be nothing left to nourish it, nothing left to sustain it, and it will no longer have anything that it is moving towards. It just becomes this emptiness of what it was meant to be. So that resistance of the shell at some point is not enough to fight against the discomfort. The discomfort and that idea of becoming a chicken is so much greater than that need to be safe within the shell. That need for air, for movement becomes so much more. And at that point, and only at that point, does that chick then start to peck at the shell to break out. You can hear it. If you hold it close, you can hear them cheeping inside. First, it's sound. It's okay. I need out. And we all do that. What, have you ever felt so uncomfortable that you just, you want to scream at somebody, or there's something in you that needs to be said, that needs to be heard. And that's the chick. And as it does that, it's like looking for a way out of this place that has been resisting its freedom. The discomfort is saying, come on, you can do this. And so it starts to push at these edges, and it finds a spot where it can really get into. Maybe it's its foot or its beak, but it starts poking and a little piece might crack and then a hole. And it doesn't stop there. If it stops, if it just goes, okay, well, I've done my job. Now, shouldn't the resistance fall away? No. Once you start, you have to continue, or the resistance will again just hold that chick steady. There might be a bit of air for a while, but that's about it. So that chick has to keep pushing at and pushing back against the resistance, because there is no going back, because it can no longer contend with that discomfort, because it so desperately wants to fulfill its nature of moving through life. And it keeps pecking and it keeps pushing, and eventually something gives, and it's like, oh, a foot, oh, a wing, and the shell of it, that resistance finally falls away. And that chick lands, and it takes a moment, and it figures out what's up and what's down and where it is. And it's confusing and it's confounding. A lot of times you stop moving for a little bit, just for a bit. But then it's this need to explore and find its way in this new space. Again, it's difficult once you've push past that resistance. Once a chick has moved through the resistance, it has to find a whole new way of being. It is a completely new world. It's moved from one world to the other. This world has died, and now it has to find this. There's no going back. The shell is no longer there. A lot of times the chicken that gave birth to that baby, that little chick, that shell, will eat the shell for its nourishment. So something eats away at that resistance that had been there. And now there's nothing but what is around. And it doesn't mean it's this bright, shiny, sunny, safe place. There's a lot of things that would like to go after this new being. But that's part of it. It isn't always safe on the other side of resistance, but it is necessary. It isn't always sunshine and roses. There's a pecking order. Literally, that's where we get the saying, a pecking order. But that chick will find its way. It will figure it out. And each of us, when we move through the thing that we've resisted, that has held us in, will eventually find our pecking order, our way of being in that new experience. But if there's this desire to never experience what we're meant to be, then you'll never break free of the shell. You will suffocate in the thing that's been holding on to you. That discomfort is just going to stay there somewhere internally, in a relationship, in a job, in everything. It will never be gone. We will never be fully connected. It might seem the easier thing, but it doesn't mean it is the easier thing. So if you were a chick in a shell, what would that shell be? What would the resistance be? What is the thing that has been kind of the safety, the place of feeding you that is starting to get really uncomfortable because the space of it is too tight for your existence anymore. The space of it is not giving you the ability to move forward in the way that you were meant to move forward. What is your vision? What is your state of being? Not a chicken, but what is your state of being that you know you are here to be? That you, again, a chick doesn't know what a chicken is, but it knows that it wasn't meant to be held in that space. So, what is that sense, that feeling you have of what you could possibly be? That vision. And if you feel like there is no room left to move, that you are suffocating in this way of being, then find that little place, that take that first step, find that one piece of the shell that's holding you in that place of resistance and start pecking at it. It can take a while to get out. It can take a long while to break free of it, but you have to be willing to peck at it and push at it and crack it and break it and remove it so that you can eventually come out. I say this knowing that I do this work all the time. It's not a one-time thing. We have many shells around us as humans and many stages of moving through them. So I'm always doing this work. Right now, it's me with changing and reformatting how I show up in my business because it's so much more than yoga, as the West has prescribed. It is about well-being, about me guiding people so that they can see the best of who they can be, that they can be their hero on their journey. But that requires me continually showing up and trying to be that hero of going into the dark forest, of looking for my holy grail. So I'm still in it. I think I'm breaking out of another shell right now that has become too containing. And part of it is this crack is pushing at it to break it free, is doing this year of discomfort, of opening myself to work with more of you, because I know that it's too small if I do not serve more people, if I do not guide more people, because I see what is possible for you. But it doesn't matter if you don't see what's possible for you. And if you don't decide that you are strong enough and capable enough and amazing enough to become that thing you were meant to be. So, peck, 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 or maybe you just start cheaping a bit. Bring yourself into vibrational life. That first sound is the remembering that maybe there is something on the other side. And then on the outside of that shell, you'll hear me calling back. Because as I call back to you and encourage you to break free, there's somebody on the outside of my shell calling to me for me to break free. And we keep going down this lovely trail together, all of us, each of us breaking free into the next life, and then that person breaking free. If you see it that way, isn't it pretty incredible? Nature understood all of that when this whole life was put together. Now it's up to each of us to start to understand that. When you're ready to work, when you're ready for a guide that can clear the pathways a bit for you so you can follow your path. Somebody who's done the journey a couple of times ahead of you to have a better idea of when rest should be taken, when movement needs to happen, well, then contact me. Leave a message, comment, talk with each other. But start to make a whole. Thank you.